I know people hate when I disrupt this, but remember, the intel we got from Ukraine with missile defense, with drone warfare, 21st century warfare in general, that information is priceless. We got more back in R&D and other ROI, all the different ROI, R&D, super fancy. But yeah, Ukraine has provided so much to America in forms of safety, and now the mineral deal and intelligence, and 21st century. There's so much that Ukraine has fought and died for. Defending themselves that we benefit from, but Americans think we just like signed a blank check and sent them, money for no benefit of our own.
This is super important. This is the biggest political aspect ever because we're losing foreign trust. We're losing foreign trust. You don't think so?
No, again, of course not. What does peace look like in Ukraine? Tell me the exact latitude and longitude that will make you happy. And is Crimea Russia?
We are losing trust globally, of course.
I don't
is
care
Crimea
about
Russia or Ukraine?
It could be Russia's or
That's
Ukraine.
the most important part of the entire war, man.
This is my
literally the last point of negotiation.
You want my opinion? This is my opinion. I totally agree. Way too many deaths have happened in Ukraine. I understand the other perspective that that millions of people died in Ukraine, and we want that to stop any way possible. But this way that we're doing it is not correct. If we're allowing Russia to just take the land and just take the land and have no repercussions, what's stopping them from doing it again? Nothing. Nothing stopping them from doing it again. We need precautions. They already broke 3 agreements so far. Please tell me what's going to stop Russia from just doing it again.
Also bring up, like, a good political point here is bring up how Russia has put bounties on American troops and has funded terrorist groups to go after Americans, and they still do. So bring that up. Bring up the cyber hacking. That's not as politically pertinent or as, I guess you could say, optically friendly for the imagination. But yeah, bring up that about Russia. I feel like so many American conservatives forget Russia's bad.
What's going to stop them?
Again, so first of all, you come from the wrong premise.
Get a load of this.
You come from the incorrect premise, as if that we are not currently being tough on Russia, and that we're not currently being tough on them.
Bro, we're slopping on them right now.
And
what are you talking about? Trump is
we
slopping
have
on
sanctions,
that shit, bro.
we have tariffs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cuss. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but again, I just want to be very perfectly clear, which is we've spent $250 to $300 billion here. You say you don't care about Crimea. And so if you don't,
where do they get these freaking numbers from, bro? Oh my goodness, we can't even have the normal conversation. Every conversation with a MAGA person is like you talk for 2 hours about the facts and you never actually get to the point. Because once you get to the actual point, they say, well, both parties are bad and nothing matters anyway.
You're gonna harp on that point?
Yeah, it's okay. Do you care about the Donbass?
Yeah, I care about.
Okay, so what
I
part
care
of the,
about it,
so
but that's not my argument.
Do you care about Mariupol? Do you think Mariupol is Russia or Ukraine's?
Not informed on Mariupol.
Okay, then this is not even a discussion we're having.
It's not a discussion because I can't be informed on one thing.
Okay, how about the Donetsk region?
Not informed.
Okay.
Charlie Kirk here is naming different regions and trying to find, he's trying to be like, oh, look at all these regions I understand, and well, actually I don't need to understand them. I can just say these regions, and if you don't know the exact specifications of every single region, every part of the conflict here, then you're going to be wrong because look, you don't have any actual knowledge, buddy. I would argue if you're going to come to a debate stage like this with Charlie Kirk, who you know is a paid asset from someone, Charlie Kirk has all the propaganda tools here. You probably should know some of the different regions, and at least if you don't have some like basic principle you're going to go back to, so such as the entire international community recognizes Crimea as Ukraine, and we cannot let Russia just simply go and take all these different areas without repercussion, because if they do that, then Russia will be able to they'll learn that they won off of their invasion. They were able to win, and Trump right now is trying to force Ukraine to give Russia pretty much every single territorial concession, everything Russia wants, every bit of land Russia has taken. Actually, I'm pretty sure Trump has pressured Ukraine to give up land that Russia currently does not occupy, that Ukraine has pushed back the line since Russia was able to make their like deepest advance. But it's like I don't know, dude. It's so Charlie Kirk's a special cookie.
Okay, again, this is like very basic Ukrainian.
Inform me then.
No, again, I'm not going to spend time educating on stuff that you can find at ChatGPT. Here's the point, okay? Here's the critical point, okay? Which is that this is now a question over geography. And so I'm not going to dialogue with you.
It's a question over geography, dude.
You don't even know the main towns that are in question.
Do you think all the U.S. You're just talking about old territories owned by the USSR?
Oh, at least okay. Pivot back into the ethnic Russian claim and bring up like the ethnic Russian claim is so similar to the Czechoslovakia Hitler ethnic German claim and Poland ethnic German claim that Hitler used, and the appeasement there, and that appeasement during before World War II or during World War II. The whole process of getting to the peak of the conflict was appeasement until everyone realized, oh crap, we cannot appease Nazi Germany. We cannot appease these countries because they're going to keep on pushing. The same lessons, we're forgetting those with like Russia. And we have benefited from the world order being what it is with NATO and a pretty stable globe. I know we have wars still, but shocking to everyone, we're not going to have a utopia. I'm sorry, we have no utopia, but the world is a lot safer today because of things like NATO. But it's a hard conversation to have. He still has 10 minutes. I guess that's enough time to do this a little bit. I don't know.
That's just what we're talking
about.
No,
that's currently Russian-controlled land because of the war. The question is, should they keep it or not? That is what's being negotiated.
Yeah, but I'm arguing if they're invading more. I'm not arguing for keeping any land. I'm arguing for if they should continue to invade more land and what's keeping them from invading more land, which you won't answer.
Yeah, okay, again, the minerals deal, part of it is a security agreement. Number two, we should actually have a...
There is no explicit security agreement with Ukraine. It's like de facto. So like America has interest there. We're going to want to defend it. But there's no deal that says, hey, if you're invaded by Russia, we guarantee defense. Nothing in the deal says that. In fact, Zelensky wanted the deal to say that. That was one of the big issues, points of contention, was that the deal did not explicitly say we're going to defend you.
A warmer relationship with Russia, which would prevent Russian expansion
because
throughout
we're
Ukraine?
Pussies, yes.
Well, okay, again, it's easy for you to say that. Do you think it was wrong for us to work with Russia to defeat the Nazis?
No, because Russia isn't as... Bro, Russia... We can... Whoa. Please don't think I'm stumbling. First of all, Germany is 1,000 times worse than Russia is right now. Like... I'm actually coming from a normal perspective on this. Like you're saying, it's reasonable to say that we're losing too many Ukrainians. Like, I understand that. That's why letting them have some land is almost understandable to me. But what's not understandable is that we have nothing to prevent them from taking more. I feel like you would agree with this. We need stronger, reasonable, like, lining to make sure they don't just break another deal. You know how many deals they broke already?
And
3.
We broke a lot of
3
deals.
deals.
You know, we broke a lot of...
See, bro, I literally brought that up earlier. You can talk about different pieces of information, but even if you agree on facts of something, they're just going to say, oh, we do bad things too. I mean, we did bad things before. How can we judge anything? How can we know the nuance of literally anything? This is why Charlie Kirk is so gross and disgusting and a really terrible human being that's being funded by dark money groups to make us fight each other so the ultra wealthy can take over society.
A lot of deals too. We said NATO would not expand eastward.
Not true at all. That's debunked by the actual people in the room, Gorbachev, and also that was about the reunification of Germany. That was not about NATO into Eastern Europe. Russia and NATO had this conversation in the late 90s where Russia said, okay, you can expand NATO, but you cannot put nuclear weapons in these new NATO countries if you expand to the eastern part of Eastern Europe. Because when the Soviet Union broke apart, we had the votes by these different countries to split off from Russia. It was a conversation about expanding NATO, and Russia agreed, like, okay, you're going to expand NATO, just don't put nukes on our border. So that's a lie.
We said we would not involve our... No, we broke that deal. That was America.
Yeah, I know. That's
So
my point. We're fucking sucking right now.
No. Dude, you understand NATO expansion happened before Trump? Like, you
Oh,
gotta
he
calm
should
down,
know
man.
this,
Like,
brother.
No, this is too serious to be calm, man.
NATO expansion.
George W.
NATO, there's 6 NATO countries on Russia's border. I believe 5 NATO countries on Russia's main borders, and then Poland with that one independent Russian zone. I forget what it's called.
Bush broke the NATO agreement. Biden broke the NATO. So, for example, we said
You
that
think
NATO
I
would...
condone that? No.
Okay, Biden broke the agreement we had with Russia that NATO would not expand eastward. Finland joined NATO under Joe Biden. So,
I'm not a Biden stan.
Finland joining NATO. Oh, why did Russia not invade Finland? You know, there's so many good responses here. This guy does not watch Destiny. Okay, because he would have better responses. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm talking about America.
Okay, that's...
No, wait, what are you trying to say then? Tell me.
I'm disproving all of your points, and you're not even internalizing
all right,
it, okay?
Tell me one more time. I'm super listening.
Okay, again, man, like, you're a perfect example.
I'm
going to say this as
of a low IQ thug. That's what Charlie Kirk's gonna say.
lovingly as I can.
Inform me.
You're a perfect example of someone who thinks you know everything about a topic, and you know literally nothing about a topic.
I literally said I didn't know 3 things.
Okay, so in this conversation here, the guys in the back, all these people back here are literally animals, like primitive beings. All right, they're like cave people. They see fire and they start clapping and yelling because they don't really understand it, but they know it's like fire. It's bright, it's fun. Okay, they see a firework or a plane in the sky. They're like, there's a plane up there. It must be spraying down chemicals on us. Okay, they think that like vaccines are gonna blow us up and turn you into zombies. Like these people will clap for literally anything. Charlie Kirk in this position, very media trained. He knows he is lying. He knows he's gonna be lying. He does this all the time. This guy coming up, you cannot be aggressive, not know even 5% of the facts you need, and then be humble and admit where you don't have the information. Because you're literally making yourself the biggest dunk in the world, bro. This guy made himself the biggest, easiest dunk in human existence for no reason. All right? Don't talk about a topic like Ukraine, which people already don't know about, if you don't have enough information to inform them. Because if you don't have that information, you're probably going to lose that conversation against someone who even knows just like random geographical locations. Even a basic basis of international law or just like an understanding of like why it's important to defend Ukraine would help you here. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Charlie Kirk knows he's lying. He can use that as a superpower. It's a cheat code. All right. Please drop a like, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Please consider donating to Jolah Politics on PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. You can call in right now. I opened up the phone lines. It's open now. I saw two people trying to call. Oh. Nice. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The sovereignty of Ukraine is important for Europe. It's important for the entire globe. Ukraine has massive resources as well. If Russia, aka North Korea, aka China, can keep on clawing away resources and land and international law, then that's not a good thing not a good place to be in. Think about Taiwan. Even think about anything. Just think about anything. Hello.
Hey, Jolah?
What's up?
Hello. I was gonna debate you on my specialty because if I'm not mistaken, I do disagree with you.
Your specialty?
Yes, my political debate specialty.
What is your political debate specialty?
The one thing that I know my arguments inside and out. I probably know your arguments better than you do.
Oh no, I'm scared.
So, my specialty is abortion.
Oh no.
Or the woman's right to choose, or as I like to call it, the mass genocide of unborn children.
Nice.
So, what is your position on abortion?
So there's a lot of different opinions on abortion. All of the life at conception beliefs are stringing from mostly religion. I don't meet many secular people who would say that there's a human life at conception, but there are many religious people who say IVF is murder, for example. So I think that's a completely radical, insane position that only Saudi Arabia would agree with, which is not a good place to be in. I would rather go with arguments that would say more about the woman's rights to her body, property rights for the woman. At what point does the fetus gain rights? So like how at what point of development would it gain some type of rights? So it usually be around 20 weeks for elective abortions. If you want to do an abortion ban for like 20 weeks, that's usually what like Europe does as well. But then for medical abortions, there should not be any limits on medical abortions where a doctor says it's necessary.
Okay, so basically your cutoff is like sentience or consciousness. If I
somewhere
understand
around
correctly.
there. It's never going to be perfect. I do think there could be a limit on, where you say like, okay, well, this is developed enough where we should not be able just to say we don't want it anymore. But I'm not really too worried about that because such a small number of abortions, such a small number happen in that stage for elective reasons.
Okay. And are you vegan?
No.
Or vegetarian?
I mean, I think morally I am, but I'm not.
Okay, so then a pig has the same level of consciousness as a 3-year-old child. So, do you value a pig at the same level that you value a 1-year-old child?
No, pigs do not get constitutional rights or rights in general under law.
Okay, so by that logic, it is not the consciousness of the baby that you are valuing. It is the humanity of the fetus.
Sentience is different from a consciousness.
Okay, what's the difference? What do you believe is the difference?
You could be sentient, all right, and not have a concept of self, for example. So a pig does not know, I am me. The pigs do not have a language, okay? They have impulses, they have stimuli, and ways to interact with the environment around them, but they have sentience. They do not have a consciousness. It is debatable on when consciousness develops. We know what part of the brain most likely gives the possibility for consciousness. But yeah, I'd probably say that is what differentiates humans from animals.
Okay, so you're saying that a pig does not have the same level of consciousness or sentience as a human, and therefore they do not get the same rights or... Okay.
Well, that's one argument, yeah.
So what about consciousness is valuable to you?
Well, I'd probably say at the very basic level, well, human rights are given on the basis of being human, but then the debate is obviously between like human versus personhood. What about consciousness is viable? I guess an ability to experience things in general, to experience, like, for example, for an abortion, being able to experience pain is a big thing. Even the impulse of pain is one thing that people would bring up in terms of having a limit on elective abortions.
Okay, and a pig can also feel pain. What's your point?
Okay, can a pig say, I am me?
Well, they don't have language. They don't have like the same voice box, or I don't know the anatomy of a pig, but they don't have the same ability to speak. So they cannot say out loud, I am me. So no.
Okay, but the real conversation about like a woman, for example, is that woman is a fully developed human being, and it's about her rights. Even if you think there's some moral value in a fetus, it's about the woman's rights. At what point is that fetus detached morally from the woman? It's not about pigs or anything. It's about human rights and about humans and about what rights we assign to people and what we consider to be people and persons. That's why people say for bodily autonomy, if the fetus can survive on its own, it's no longer going to be in the jurisdiction of just a woman. And there's other arguments as well there. But that's really the debate about the ethics part.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is we should take away rights from certain human beings just because they are in a different location, they are smaller, they are at a different level of development, or whatever other thing that you want to use. We should just take away their rights.
So my argument ultimately is a policy argument. So we could talk about ethical stuff, but when I make decisions in government, if you want to say like what your ethics are, I think that's different from what the policy rationale should be. I think saying it's outright murder is insane for many different reasons, but for the policy purpose, I would not hold a woman's own right over the property rights of herself or her body to be under that of a fetus if she wants to not bring that fetus to becoming an actual person. So like I'd put that woman's rights above anyone else's right to make a decision on if she wants to carry a child to term with certain limits. But yeah, I think that it's just more of a policy discussion and policy argument. And my biggest concern with the abortion laws is the impact on women's health as well with the medical bans. Because doctors are very, very, very hesitant to work in red states. They're hesitant to work at all with women. And in red states right now, the chances you die giving birth as a woman have skyrocketed. They're higher in red states in general for this reason, but after Roe v. Wade got overturned, it went up even higher in states like Texas and South Carolina. Okay. So it really causes more dangerous situations for all women, not only women that get abortions, but also women that don't get abortions that no longer have the medical care they might need if they do have a life-threatening complication.
Okay, how many women died from giving birth in 1972?
I don't really care.
Okay, I will save you the ability to Google it. 39. How many women died from abortions in 1973?
I don't care about abortions in 1973. Why would I care about this?
Because 1973 was the year that Roe v. Wade was ratified,
Okay.
or that it was approved, or whatever you want to call it. And the number of women that died from abortions in 1973 was 24, in which, when you take the math and like average it out between all of the states that had more restrictions, it was actually about the same between 1972 and 1973. So your argument about like medical need it does not work. And also, after viability of the fetus, you can perform a cesarean section, and that will be a lot faster than an abortion. So after the second trimester, there is no medical reason ever to ever perform an abortion, because an abortion is also, it's still delivering the fetus. It is just killing the fetus before you deliver it. But you can still deliver the fetus alive.
So like I wouldn't, I'm not going to tell a doctor or a woman how to interact in this scenario. I don't think the government should be involved in that at all. I don't really care. I care about the medical boards, what decisions they make, and medical ethics. I really don't care about what you're talking about right now. If a doctor decides it's necessary to keep the woman safe, for medical reasons, then I think they should be able to without any legal worries. But
it is never necessary, though.
It's just
there is not a single medical situation where it is ever necessary to perform an abortion.
Okay, well, if a doctor says it is necessary, I want a woman and her doctor to be able to make that decision. I don't want a random guy on the internet that Googles incel topics to make that decision based through like their vote.
Okay, so what about the doctors that say it is never necessary to perform an abortion?
Then they don't need to provide abortions if that's their medical opinion based off the regulations, ethics, and medical board that they're certified under. If that's their opinion, that's their medical opinion, that's fine. But if doctors do say that is necessary and a woman wants to go through with that for medical reasons, there should be no limits on that, is what I'm saying, for medical reasons.
Okay. Okay, so if in Nazi Germany, everyone except for one person said that we should kill all the Jews, can that person that doesn't agree still fight for not killing the Jews, or does he just say, okay, I just won't kill the Jews myself?
Also, are you saying, like, for example, are you saying that, like, if a woman is, like, at 23 weeks, for example, and the doctor says, well, the fetus is not going to make it, or the woman is not going to, there's a chance she doesn't survive. You're saying that an abortion is not necessary in that case where the child or the fetus must be removed. You're saying that she should be forced to get a C-section instead of an abortion?
Yes, that's correct.
So you just want like women to be chopped up for no reason at a very very early stage of pregnancy, which is extremely dangerous, even more dangerous to do for a C-section, risking.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. That's actually. I don't think if people that are watching, you should Google a C-section and realize this person is a wild mother trucker. He wants women to get sliced and diced because he is a radical. That's actually insane.
Dude,
that's an insane
I
position.
was born by C-section.
Amazing. I care about your identity. Tell us more about your snowflake story. I don't give a shit about your identity story. I care about women and not having to get freaking C-sections if there's a risk, for example. So, like, for example, I'm looking at medical regulations right now. The NIH is going to be all conspiracy driven. For an ectopic pregnancy or any pregnancy that's at 23 weeks or under, early delivery or C-section is not possible or viable. If there's severe infection, which is one of the big reasons that women might get an abortion, if there's infection or bleeding, you cannot get a C-section either. There's an extreme risk of death. The death rate there is extremely high. So like things after 24 weeks, that would be a different discussion because that's after the limits of, like, for example, if there's no issue at all for the woman, then there could be other options that would not require an abortion. There could be. But I thought the doctor made that decision. I would not limit the doctor's ability to help that woman based off the government.
Okay, I do support your thing of, like, fighting government overreach or whatever it is you're trying to say here. I do support lowering the size of the government because our government right now is way too large. But okay, I think we have established our views on abortion. Is there something else you want to debate?
Is diversity good for a society?
What diversity do you mean?
Diversity of thought, diversity of culture, diversity of diversity of religion, I guess, and yeah, the ability to coexist in diverse conditions.
Okay, diversity of thought is good. I support diversity of thought. Diversity of culture, it depends on the level of diversity. Diversity of religion, I'm fine with. I don't really care. I'm not religious, so your religion, I really don't care. Do you support racial diversity? Or actually, I should amend that. Do you support forced racial diversity?
I mean, sometimes it really depends.
You support forced racial diversity?
Yeah, like integration, and the Civil Rights Act was forced racial integration. So yeah, I mean, forced diversity in that situation, yeah.
Okay, well, there are parts of the Civil Rights Act that were good, parts of it that were bad, but like, for example, the Civil Rights Act established the rights to affirmative action, which affirmative action did not actually go into effect until I believe it was Lyndon Baines Johnson in like the 1980s, and then it got a lot more prevalent in like the Obama administration, and then it was struck down by a Supreme Court case in 2022, which I fully support that Supreme Court case because affirmative action is really bad. But do you support affirmative action?
I definitely support the principles of DEI. Affirmative action, I don't think it's the best policy. I don't disagree with its intentions.
Okay, well, affirmative action and DEI are effectively the same thing, but
no, they're not. I work with actual DEI offices. They're not the same thing at all. So, like, for example, DEI would be like if we're giving our applications out to a neighborhood, you want to make sure there's an equal opportunity for black, white, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, like different cultures. Like, if we're not getting any black applicants, why are we not getting black applicants? Is it because of a lack of applicants? Is it because we're not like outreaching the right way? Is it because we're like having blind spots in our hiring process? Affirmative action or quotas are actively going out and trying to get someone who's like, okay, we need a black guy in here. We need more black people. We need more, people of this culture to even things out or to make sure we have a diverse workplace. They're very like different in intention. You actually can get an affirmative action. Affirmative action could say, for example, this person has a really low test score, but we value diversity over test scores. That would be like a affirmative action thing where they're actively weighing the race above other qualities. Like a race would put you above another student who performs worse. But that's different from holistic admissions or even equal opportunity. They are very, very, very different things. And there's a reason the Supreme Court did not strike down like all DEI. They just really focused on affirmative action.
Okay, well, by that definition, I am okay with DEI, which I'm not sure about like the entire definition, but that's
I'll take
fine.
it. I'll take it.
You'll take what you can get.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. I'm gonna go on to someone else, but I do appreciate the call.
Okay. All right.
Thank you
Good talk, dude.
Yeah, hope you have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
See ya. All right, take someone else. Thank you for the call. Someone else call in. Thank you so much, King Sri. Thank you so much for $5 on Venmo. Thank you so much for $5 on Venmo. Thank you for the donation. Okay, guys, there's one stream doing really well out of the 3 streams that are up. LOL. So I'm gonna end the 2 streams that are not doing well, and then go on my channel and find the stream that is doing well in the algorithm. Okay, and go like it. All right. Okay, ready? I'm ending it. I'm ending 2 of the streams. Refresh my channel and go to the stream that's working good for the algorithm. I'll see you guys there. All right, I'll take a new caller. See you guys there in 1 second. I'm ending the stream. Refresh my channel. I'll be back. I'm live right now. Go to the other stream. Refresh my channel. Thank you. Refresh my channel. See you guys there. Drop a like there. Refresh it.
Call from
Alex.
Oh no. Hello? Howdy. You're live. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
Very good. I don't really have a topic in mind. Do you want to throw one out?
I'll be honest. There are so many topics, like hundreds of topics I could bring up. So if you have anything on your mind or anything that you heard me talk about that you want to discuss, that'd be perfect.
I mean, the big shift with Israel is really crazy right now.
Yeah, it
that's
is crazy.
pretty-
Why do you think that's happening?
I think Trump thinks that the whole reason we went to Iraq, Afghanistan, and went through all this bullshit was because of Netanyahu. And they lied about the weapons of mass destruction. And he's pissed.
I'll be honest though, like if you
think we're
follow
being-
like Trump's actual influences though, I don't think Trump cares about that at all. I think that Qatar or Qatar and Saudi Arabia and like every country in that region there, they have a lot of money and they give Trump crypto gifts. They pay him through his cryptocurrency. They give him the big jumbo jets. He has deals to build a Trump Tower in Syria. All of a sudden, he loves Syria. Literally, he announced the Trump Tower in Damascus. And the next day, he took away all these sanctions on these countries. You know, the same thing with Qatar, by the way. There's Qatar. There's gonna be a new Trump development there of like $5 billion. So literally, the moment that they dump money on Trump, that's why he always loved the Saudis. Even in his first term, Tulsi Gabbard called him a lover of Saudi Arabia. So I think that's the big reason. Israel does not have the money that these countries do to bribe Trump.
The truth is Trump is going to be a rich man till the day he dies. He could go, I mean, the amount of fame he has now, he will have a way to make money for the rest of his life. I'm sick and tired of people creating this argument that he's in it for the money. He's already a billionaire. If he was
How do you? Okay. I'm sorry. Once you're,
for the money,
are you a millionaire?
He got shot at. He almost
Are you a
got
millionaire?
killed.
Are you a millionaire?
He's saying.
Are you a
he went
millionaire?
through all this shit. He went through 10 years of all this.
Okay, buddy,
bullshit
I understand you want to glaze
for
Trump.
money.
I understand. Okay. If you want to glaze Trump, go on that weird website, the DonaldTrumpHub.org or whatever.
I'm just saying.
Are you a millionaire? Are you a
You need
millionaire?
more evidence of that. No, I'm not a millionaire.
Okay. How much money per year do you think would make you like to the point where you would no longer know how to spend it?
I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of wants and desires for crazy nonsense, but probably in the 6 figures for sure.
So like my big question for everyone that says this is, I'm from a poor background. I'm from a 99% white, rural Appalachia, old coal town. So if I made 6 digits someday, I don't make that right now. I make like half that. But like if I made that someday, I'd be like, holy crap, this is tons of money. I'd be buying such a nice house in the middle of nowhere because houses are really cheap in these like, middle of nowhere towns. It's really cheap to get land there. But like for me, that'd be a lot of money. So my question is, if you have $100,000 a year, to me, that's a lot of money. If I had $1 million a year, I'd be like, holy crap, $1 million a year. How could I ever want more? All right. And then you have $1 million a year, you're a millionaire. Then they become 10 millionaires. They have $10 million a year.
What do you want the money for?
No, but this is the thing though. Once you
What
have
do you
$1
want the
million,
money for?
hey, 1 second. Once you have $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, once you have $500 million, once you have $1 billion, what else could you possibly want? Why would you want more money, more power? Why would Elon Musk want not 1 billion, not 10 billion, not 50 billion, not 100 billion, not 150 billion, not 200 billion, not 250 billion, but 300 billion? Why would a man want that much money and power?
People like Bill Gates, and Bill Gates got that rich, and then he started changing the world. He started, playing God.
Well, Trump got rich and he wants to build a strip club in the Holy Land.
That was a whole Gaza thing. I mean, I'm sure the people in Israel got freaking elated at that.
All I'm saying is the people that are addicted to money and power, they always want more money and power. And being president is the most powerful person on the planet.
Do that. Look, when they get more and more money, they want to have influence. They want to put their will on the. They don't just want. They're not freaking the Donald Duck guy just hoarding a big pile of cash. That makes no sense. It's not.
No,
logical.
but they get off on
They
doing
want
these deals
power.
though. They get off on it. Yes, but they want power. They want to feel power too. That's why Trump wants people to sit up and clap like he's in North Korea all the time. Like he wants that praise. He is the person that loves that. And it's very clear. He even talked about Qatar. Okay, he said in the speech today. And by the way, these are countries that financed, U.S. identified terrorist organizations that have had bounties on American troops. They have funded terrorists that have done major crimes. A lot of these people probably knew some of the guys associated with 9/11, by the way. But like, he's over there saying, "Oh, we gotta love them and cherish them. They just don't have enough friends over here." Qatar is actually one of the best places on the world, and Trump just now decided that after they gave him all that money. All I'm saying is, the idea that a rich person does not want more money and power is really kind of nuts to me.
He's already got it all.
He doesn't have it all. He doesn't have it all. He does not have it all. No one has it all. They want more and more and more. They never stop. It's like a drug addict. They never stop wanting more.
We started this conversation about Israel, right? And this is the problem with verbal. You guys you're incapable of talking like real policy and thinking of the bigger picture. All you do is just hate on the guy. Let's talk about what he wants. Let's talk about what his goals are. Let's not just attack. I mean, think outside the box. Let's say you have these police. Sure, okay, but meet me halfway. Let's say he's not in it for the money. Let's go back to what we were talking about before. Then why is he cutting ties with Israel? Why is he having – because he wants the best for America. And that's the one thing you liberals can't accept, that he would actually be selfless. That he actually want the best for us. For maybe
okay. If he wants the best for America, think about this for a second.
Not the influence that
he
Israel
is the oligarchy.
has.
He is the oligarchy, but also the plane from Qatar.
Is that why they spent every single millionaire seems to be going after this dude?
No, actually, the billionaires that were behind him donated to him. Trump had the biggest donors by far, like Elon Musk and Miriam Adelson and all these people. But okay, just on the Qatar jet. Okay, so that's $400 million jet. It's going to cost, if he uses it, which he wants to, probably around $1 billion to be able to use his Air Force One, because you have to take the jet, you have to scan it for everything, you have to refit it. You can manage nuclear weapons from Air Force One. So that would cost a lot of money. So billions of dollars spent, and the issue is after 2 years, right? After 2 years, Trump personally gets this to the organization that's going to be running his museum as president. So the American taxpayer is not going to be able to finance, a jet to just like be a Air Force One because it's usable. It's going to be us paying for to make this jet to be fitted to be Air Force One, and then Trump gets it after 2 years. I just think that doesn't sound like someone who really cares about America.
And I'm glad you care about this issue. I'm really glad you care about this issue. I'm curious, though. Did you know that the Air Force One before that was made in 1990? Not the 1990s, 1990. It is an old motherfucking plane. So where did you care about there? Did you care about it then? It's only a way to attack. All you people care about is ways to attack.
What is the bad part about what's happening right now? Do you realize, like, getting this plane from Qatar and then shifting foreign policy as a return? Like, do you think that they're giving him the plane to be nice? Why do you think from their perspective?
Yeah.
From their perspective, why are they giving Trump the plane?
Saudi people, they're so egotistical. I'm sure they're like, yeah, I have this plane and that plane.
You think Qatar?
I'm sure that's exactly what fucking happened.
You think Qatar, which has a GDP that's smaller than like New York City, not even New York City, probably like Atlanta or Philadelphia. You think they gave Trump? You think they gave Trump a $400 million plane to be nice, and they don't expect anything in return ever?
Not just nice, because they see him as fucking royalty. They love this dude because he's a peacemaker.
Gullible Gus.
Peace to the world.
Come on, man! You really trust these guys? You trust Qatar to?
In-person talk. All right.
They're just being nice. I know it is funny because you think they're being nice. You would have been taking the Trojan horse, like, wow, you guys made me a big wooden horse. Thank you guys. You would have easily taken the Trojan horse. You're so gullible, dude.
Why did they roll out the purple carpet? Why did they love this man so much?
So they can get deals because they know that they have to flatter him. If they flatter him, he gives them what they want. That's the whole game here. Israel cannot flatter as much as they can because they don't have as much money.
Talking crazy, dude.
That's literally how it's functioning right now. Trump is talking about them like he's their lover or they're his lover. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Yeah, they're just being nice, I guess. I don't know what else I can say. If you think they're just being nice, I don't know what else we could talk about, man.
Don't you see how all we talk about is it's just Trump's bad, and that's the reason. It's just
he is
a way
president,
to stop
man.
actual conversations.
Okay, fine. Let's have an actual conversation. Let's have an actual conversation then. Let's have an actual conversation.
All government.
Right now, let's think about this. Okay, we have
history will be using us as their freaking attack dogs.
Okay, we've been talking for 10 minutes, all right? So I'll talk to you for another 10 minutes. I want you to pick a topic that you think is like extremely important to America. We'll talk about that.
I don't know, man.
Okay, well, there's all these important issues. You got to have one.
Well, I'm really concerned with the rise of anti-white racism. I really am. I see it more and more and more, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't want it. I'm not saying that black racism is okay. I think all racism should be. I mean, I honestly think the 90s, early 2000s, we were far better off racial tension-wise in this country. And I want to know what happened since then. How did we go from better to worse? And I think I know the answer. I think people who control the media wanted to make us racist again because it keeps the poor fighting each other.
You know that
And they
that
realized
Rodney King happened in 1991, right?
But black racism wasn't popular anymore. They couldn't popularize that anymore. So they had to do the next best thing. They had to popularize white racism. And because they know that how racism works, it doesn't matter which side starts it. It just keeps growing no matter where it comes from. And so I think that's what they're playing.
You know, in the 90s, like police brutality and crime in general was at like an all-time high. We had Rodney King happen. That was the 90s, right? And the skinheads were still active. Bill. The skinheads were still active. And like we still had a lot of racial hate groups acting very boldly.
Yeah, we weren't perfect, but look at the culture. Look at the media that was out there. Look at the heroes we were looking up to. Michael Jackson was was the most famous person in the world for a long freaking time. We weren't perfect, but we were a hell of a lot better than now. I think that's undeniable.
I just think Americans are very pampered and scared to have tough conversations right now because the amount of white people I hear talking about like their lives are being attacked directly is kind of sad, to be honest. I mean, I know suburban people. The suburbs think they're under attack right now, but they have been pampered their entire lives. They've never really seen the real world, but they're mad at the world and they're afraid of the world. So I mean, the white people in America, I understand. Like, I think the left, but by the way, I think the establishment left is pretty hostile to white people. I'm not gonna lie, but it's hostile in terms of like mean guilt words of like, oh well, racism was a thing, and you have to like make sure you understand racism, and we don't think you give enough space for people of color. Like, it's not like. I don't see anti-white hatred. It could be a lot of dumb jokes and aggressive jokes, but like, and I'm one to admit that, by the way, because it is like it feels hostile, but it's not hostile in the terms of like black people facing racism and facing skinheads and police brutality. It's hostile in the way of making my emotions hurt on the internet. I just think people are soft nowadays, white people included.
It doesn't matter what the intentions of these white liberals pushing this are. It's causing an effect. That people are emboldened to have violence against white people.
Where is the violence against white people? Like, where's that? Like, what are you referencing for that?
Are you not aware of South Africa right now?
Do you have any examples in America?
Well, I mean, that's all just going to be anecdotal acts of violence that we can pick and
well, South Africa is anecdotal too because all the courts in South Africa and all the evidence does not show any racial discrimination. The farmers being killed are like pretty evenly distributed, black and white. It's usually robbings and bad economic conditions. There's no example of like black people going out and saying, "Oh, we got to kill all the white farmers, or we're going to kill all of them." There's videos of people saying angry things from apartheid, but that was pretty. I think that was kind of justified back then.
No. Please just say that you believe that there are no politicians in South Africa racially discriminating against white people. That's what you believe. Please
I'm
say
not
that.
saying there's no one not doing that anywhere. I'm just saying in South Africa, the idea there's a white genocide.
Informed.
What is one case of white on white or anti-white violence in America or in any country?
Look, it's we can talk about specific instances, but I think what's more important is the people spreading these ideas and this idea that we are to blame for all slavery. One quick info that I learned. Did you know that only 2% of Americans ever owned slaves?
That's not the point of talking about like reparations, for example.
75%. No, it's the changing of history. It's the constant bombarding our media with these horrible depictions of slavery.
Okay, but again, you have an emotional perspective. You are what I'm talking about. You have an emotional perspective. I have a realistic one. You have an emotional one because you're offended.
That's how societies, that's how cultures are formed. That's how the zeitgeist is made, through media.
Well, I don't know, but you are offended and you're emotional. But if we talk about the facts of like reparations, for example, or why we talk about the history of slavery, like there is a lot that we have to talk about there that still was never resolved because our government never repaid black people for having them as slaves. We did repay Japanese people. Our governments repaid Jewish people after the Holocaust.
Some of them
so like
got the whole mule and whatever acres.
That
right?
never we never had reparations done in America. We definitely should have. We probably still should. It's just too difficult to do policy wise. So we probably never will.
That's another argument, dude. We have millions of slaves right now. And the idea
for black
that
people in America,
that black people in a first world country, one of the most privileged people in the world, deserve more of our tax dollars? No, I'm sorry.
Okay, to be fair, you are okay. I asked you about big problems in the world, and you brought up anti-white racism, so you don't have any room to talk. And also, for black people in America, the U.S. government. The point is, okay, I want to explain the point here. For black people in America, the U.S. government held black people as subhuman animals by law for centuries. Okay, and when that happens for centuries, you come out with a group of people that does not have literacy, education, so they need to fight for literally everything they have in this country. And then when the Civil Rights Act passed after the Civil War ended, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, it was hard for black people even when these laws passed with redlining and like there's so many different barriers black people had to get through, and we're only one generation really removed from these situations. So when we're talking about the U.S. government purposely putting one group of people in America, I don't care about other countries, in America, for black people in America, the U.S. government's responsible, so the U.S. government should make it right. That's why we have these communities and black communities that are so violent. It's because of the ghettos we force black people into as a country. It's not because of their own personal failing. We purposely put black people in that position. Even like back to Nixon and Reagan, they talked about this. And the war on drugs was another example of this.
We allowed social engineers to control our rap music. And
you have a cultural, social, emotional, you have a really emotional, sad, like you have a beta understanding of this. I have a real world understanding. But why can't you not talk about the real world understanding? And by the way, most kids that listen to violent rapper are white kids in the suburbs. But but still, we have to talk about the actual reasons why these communities are in the positions they are.
White people they're the ones that are enjoying rap the most?
Yes, that actually is a fact. Yeah, white people.
Look,
that is a fact. Yeah,
because this isn't a racial thing. This isn't.
It always was a white audience.
This is ghettoism. This culture of ghetto.
See, but you only focus on culture because your brain cannot handle the tough conversation, right? You cannot focus on the tough conversation.
Huh?
No, the thing that ruins families is the American government saying your skin color means you're subhuman, you can't own property, and you cannot learn how to read or write for hundreds of years. That's what ruins these communities. Not rap music.
And then in turn, when people like LBJ get into office and say they'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 100 years, I'm saying, the U.S. government is to blame, but it's not the U.S. government. It's a very particular part of the U.S. government, the Democrat Party, that's responsible for this.
The Democratic Party is the one that wants to be able to, but okay, it doesn't, the Democratic Party, Republican Party, those things don't matter historically. They don't matter in party alignments. The American government doing this to black people is what matters. Republicans and Democrats down south hung black people up until the 80s. Okay, so when we talk, and they still kind of did it with the war on drugs in 80s and 90s and some 2000s. There's a lot of cases that we have here. And by the way, the biggest topic you brought up in America was anti-white racism again. And the fact you think anti-white racism is a big issue is the number one issue. And you think rap music is the reason black people are... Well, you brought up rap music. Like, I'm talking about some real... And you talked about liberals earlier. I'm trying to talk about real factual shit we can do to help fix this country and make it better. And you're talking about freaking rap music. I just feel like you're degrading yourself and making yourself look like a pushover by bringing that point up.
If we got rid of rap music, if we shamed and told and all came together and said, hey, glorifying criminals is wrong and stupid.
Some of the highest crime rate places in America are white communities in Alabama that don't listen to rap music. You realize that, right?
Okay. All right. Continue to live in La La Land.
I'll keep living in the real world. You live in a culture-obsessed, emotional world. You're woke, right? You're woke, right? That's the issue. You're woke, right? You're just offended. You're like a beta. It's sad talking. I'm talking about real shit. You're talking about like culture stuff. You have to retreat back to like la 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 blah 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 whatever. But I'm talking about some real shit, dude. I talk about rural America too.
Saying, fixing our culture would fix that. Getting rid of things like rap music.
Fixing culture doesn't fix areas that have no funded schools and no job opportunities and no public transit and no ability to own a car, no ability to even have a chance at success. That stuff needs to be fixed, and the crime rate and culture changes. That changes culture. Culture comes from the environment. The environment was set by the U.S. government. The U.S. government never did the work to repair
We'll
it.
get there. And guess who's making turns to get that? Trump. And guess who hasn't made turns to do any of that for decades? Democrats.
Yes, very true. Very true.
You know, they've lived
Trump
in,
is woke.
They ran these cities. They ran these Democrat-run cities. They've been run by Democrats for all these years, and they still blame Republicans. I don't understand it. I mean,
Okay.
look around. See who's causing the real problems, the real issues.
Okay, again, one more point. I'm talking about real shit, real problems.
Yeah.
You are finger pointing at different parties, talking about these little. You're just like a weenie talking about these dumb political
because the
games.
things
I'm talking
they
about
do
real
is-
shit.
They have so many angles that they attack us through. It would be.
And by the way,
stupid to go
Republican-led
through
cities have
individual
worse
examples.
outcomes than blue cities. Cities are just hard to manage. Republican cities are worse, and Republican states have worse outcomes. Like you know that red states on average they live like 7 years shorter than blue states because the red states don't fix their water, they don't fix their food supply, they don't fix their education, they don't fix their health care. Blue states, you live longer and people are happier in blue states for a reason. Like cities are just
Can I end on one
complicated.
note though?
Sure.
Can I end on one thought? I hate the left-right dynamic. Honest to God, I think the Republican-Democrat mindset is natural to us. It is the left brain, right brain hemisphere. It is the masculine and feminine. And we all naturally kind of go one way. It is not up to us. It is our nature. And we're all generally going to be balanced because it's a duality. So, and we need it. Just like a mother and a father is needed to raise a good child, we need our Democrat and our Republican. We need it. But we need them to be loving and working together, not this. And I think it's because this isn't a left-right. This is the rich versus everyone else. And until we figure that out, we're stuck.
Yeah, well, what you just said right there does not align with with this entire call at all, and you're supporting the most corrupt big money president of all time. So
that because Trump is rich, he's part of it. But
no, because he's corrupt and he had okay. About the cryptocurrency, why is Trump using the White House for tours for Chinese billionaires and Russian billionaires to be ranked in a cryptocurrency to gain influence from him? Why is that happening?
I don't know. But probably something good for America.
Yo, you're cooked. You are cooked.
He's literally
bro.
taking a bullet for
Bro,
us.
what kind of soup did you make with your brain? What kind
gone
of soup did you
through
make?
so
Did you
much
cook it like
shit.
medium rare, like well done? Like did you No, you cooked it well done, dude. You're fried. Okay, I hope you have a great night. I do appreciate the call, man.
Have
a
good
great
with
night.
DTS, man. DTS.
I don't have
that's what
TDS.
you got.
You have some other syndromes. Okay. Man, that's crazy. That was a good. You know what? That's a good content call. That's one of my best overall calls, I think, from an entertainment standpoint. I have to make sure I edit that good for YouTube because that's actually a good call. Thank you for watching. Please drop a like and subscribe. Please become a channel member. Please, all that stuff. Please donate to Jolah Politics, PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. Really appreciate everyone that donates and everyone that doesn't donate. Everyone who just watches as well. You can donate through coffee. Someone donated through coffee earlier today during the day. Thank you for watching. If that was you, really appreciate it. What do you guys think about that call? You were just talking to a brainworm disguised as a human, maybe. Probably Kirk. Debate Lord vibes on that call. Oh, really? Debate Lord vibes. Oh, no. I can't talk with any authority on any issue. I have to just talk like this. I think that Donald Trump is the same as all other politicians. Donald Trump is the same. Joe Biden's the same. Everyone is just the same. Voting is useless, guys. Give up. That guy brought up Republicans and Democrats more than anyone, any caller I talked to tonight. And he's like at the end, oh, all this partisanship is killing us. Like, yeah, dude. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. You really do agree with that statement you just made. Like, yeah. Hello.
How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Pretty good. What would you like to cover? The border? Like, I can talk about on pretty much everything.
I don't know. I hate every topic, so you pick one.
All right, let's go with the border. Do you believe that we have a causal obligation to these people that are coming into our country?
What kind of obligation?
Causal obligation.
For like rights or
No, just letting them be in a country that we have no moral
to let them
obligation
be in
to.
it? Oh, like causal in that sense. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't cause them to be in the state of dependence. Why don't we just support them?
I think we have an obligation if there's someone fleeing from a dictatorship, for example.
Wait,
I
why?
agree with asylum laws. Because
Wait, why?
I think morally and also for our nation, it's good to be.
Yeah, where do you get your moral system from?
I don't have a moral system. I don't really care about all that
Oh,
gay
wait, you
stuff.
said morally. So if you're going to say morally, I would like to know what basis is your moral system.
LGBTQA plus.
So LGBTQ plus, why should this be based off our moral system?
Pi squared.
Are you going to engage with the question, or are you just going to run?
I'm running because I don't care about moral systems. I don't know all the big
Okay,
the big
so
debate
this
terms.
go off of, wait, if we're going off of the situation, this is a debate, right?
It's a combative conversation.
Oh, wait, no, because your live stream says debate. So we can go with the situation of a debate. If we're going to go off of legal, do you want to go off of legal then? Because if we go off of legal, I'm just going to say if the law is immoral, kind of like owning people, would you say that this law should be applicable?
Well, if there's a law that really says, like, for example, we have to have slaves in this country, then you probably have a war. If it was
we
that
should have
egregious.
a war. Okay, so how would we
Yeah, if there's
abolish
slavery in like
based off wait, wouldn't this be based off our morals? So I want to know where your moral framework is. For me, I can just point to like libertarians, which this is going to be more applicable to like John Locke and a lot of other libertarians.
I don't care about John Locke. I don't care about any moral systems.
Wait, you don't care about moral system? Okay, then why would we abolish the situation of slavery?
Because it's bad, and if like Texas
It's
has
bad?
slaves,
Oh,
we
okay,
should
why
stop
is
it.
it bad? Because if the law says it and you don't care about moral system, then why would we care?
Because I think slavery is bad.
Oh, okay, that's your morals. I want to know where you get your morals from.
Like in America, for example, let's say you have like two like sovereign. Well,
Wait,
you have
no,
one
no,
sovereign
don't
territory,
deflect,
and you
don't
have one
deflect. I
side that
wanna
wants
know where
slaves
you
and one
get
side
your
that doesn't
morals
want
from.
slaves. If you can't resolve it through legal means, and there's such a big conflict where they can't coexist, you're gonna have some type of civil war to see who can like be the
Okay,
governing
legal
body of
means.
that state.
Okay, where do we get our laws?
God.
Where God?
Yeah.
Okay, what God?
Mine.
Okay, who's your God?
The Christian God.
The Christian God? Why should we follow the Christian God laws?
Because I said so, and he talked to me.
Oh, he talked to you. Okay,
Yeah.
I would just say that you're schizophrenic and you might need to get help if he talked to you.
Not again.
But if you're having a debate and you're bringing people up that can engage with the situation, and then someone comes up to ask you like your moral framework, and then I bring up mine, causal obligation, I can show how this is applicable based off of legality and at the same time other situations. Legality, the example is going to be if I'm in a car and you're in a car and I caused a car accident, I am morally obligated to make sure that your car is taken care of and all your medical bills are taken care of. You are just saying these random things without having a moral system or at the same time being able to defend it.
I think strict moral systems really prevent you from engaging with the world in a pragmatic way.
Wait, okay, give me an example where causal obligation isn't able to like it be in the world.
Because it doesn't matter, because regardless, you can talk about your moral framework and different ethics for person to person, but we come together to set laws and we have debates. Okay, we have debates.
Oh, okay,
and
we
legal
have debates
standards.
like what we're doing now.
The legal
So when
system
I
does not
ask
need to
you-
be moral. It stems
so
off
the
of
legal
society
system
and what
doesn't
laws
need
we
to be
agree on.
moral. Wait, so if legal system does not need to be moral, and then at that point, if people come together and say that we need to own everyone that is part of the LGBTQ, and the system isn't moral, where are they getting these laws from? Are they just pulling them out of thin air?
Well,
Like,
we debate
what?
them. Like, if you want to talk about freaking pragmatic ethics or utilitarianism, I don't really care about those terms at all. I really don't, because we're going to debate them regardless. So I just want to take what I think is good in the moment. We can talk about different topics and see.
Oh, what? Okay,
one's
so
better or
in
not.
the moment, okay, let me give you a hypothetical. In the moment, if we enslave 1% of the population, 99% of the population will live the happiest lives. They will go to school. No one has to work, but this 1% of the population has to suffer. Would this be good?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay, let's just say that it's all black people, but every other race of people is taken care of.
Oh, then it's bad.
Wait, why is it bad? Because in this situation where I gave you 99% of the population of the world versus the 1%, this is going to be the same situation with the black people. Now you are just appealing to emotions, or at the same time you cannot defend your argument. I would like to know what argument you would go with why enslaving 1%,
55 burgers,
where
55
it's just black
fries,
people
55 tacos,
versus
55
the
fries,
99%.
100 tater tots, 100 pizzas, 100 tenders, 100 meatballs, 100 coffees, 55 wings, 55 shakes, 55 pancakes, 55 pasta.
Can you
55
engage?
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
Okay, so in the situation where I said the 99% of the population will be taken care of versus the 1%, you were like, sometimes, but the second I say that the 1% is black people, you're like, that's bad.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's pragmatic for me to answer the question that way, because it'll look bad optically.
Oh, okay, because it doesn't fit your narrative, because you can't engage with
Yes,
a
it does not fit my
hypothetical.
narrative. That is my honest take. Yes, it's not
Because if you
pragmatic
ask
for me
me
to
a
answer that way.
situation, I would just say enslaving another person or 1% of the population having a problem where they can't give true informed consent. This is going to be like against my causal obligation and everything. This is going to be immoral.
Okay, what's more
With you,
bad?
you're like,
Okay,
I
what's more
can't
bad then?
engage with
Okay,
it.
what's more bad? A population where 5% are enslaved, or a population where there's 50% enslaved?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would
Which is
just
more
say
bad?
that neither is bad. I wouldn't agree with both of them.
If you had to vote between those, what would you vote for? If you had to
Yeah,
pick
I
one?
wouldn't vote for either because then at that point I
Exactly,
would be
you're
causing
useless. You are
Wait,
useless.
hold up.
I am useful. You are
Wait,
useless.
hold up.
Yeah.
I can go with this situation. But even with this, I would just say, yeah, I'm not going to vote to cause someone to be in a state of dependence upon me because if I own a slave, this is going to be immoral because they didn't give true informed consent was based off of the action. With you, you're just saying, oh, well, it's bad. At least with me, I can defend my argument versus, oh, well, it's bad. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, have you been debating for a long time? Maybe pick up a philosophical book.
A philosophical book. Why would I do that? You have no actual like pragmatic implementation at all. You have nothing to go
Yeah, I
off
would
of
just
for the
say
real
that
world.
I would just say that I wouldn't abide by any of those laws and I would abolish them.
Okay, what framework do you use to decide between voting for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, for example? Or
Oh,
do you
yeah,
vote
for
neither?
the framework, I'm going to say that with Donald Trump, he held the causal obligation versus Kamala, where she was letting other people from other countries come into our land, which at this point I'm going to find this immoral. We have no causal obligation. We didn't cause them to be in the state of dependence with the cartels in Mexico or in the South America. Any situations like this, we did not cause this situation. This is upon their own government. If they have a problem with their government, then at this point they should go against it.
Do you
For
think you
us,
need to have a philosophical framework to be an informed voter?
I would just say that you would have to understand like your morals, and this is going to be the philosophical side. If we're looking at in depth, morals is going to be based off of principles. Principles is based off of like philosophical, or at the same time it could be based off of multiple other things, like theists and everything under the sun.
Okay, so let's say you talk to a really dumb person like me. I don't have a moral ethical framework, all right? And I just say like,
Yep.
for example, I prefer one policy over the other. Can you like have a conversation with me without having like a philosophy debate, or do you need to have a philosophical?
Yeah, I would
backing?
just say that the philosophy debate is going to be about what you would rather see in the future. Because, like, for example, if we let everyone into the country, including like cartel members and other people that we do not cause, then at that point the taxes are going to go up for us to fund these people, where we could be using the taxes in other means. And when we go with, like, it depends on what conversation, because we could also talk about abortion, which this is going to be another situation that I agree with Trump on. We should abolish abortion.
Okay, really quick. Okay, I have a person who is like our #1 philosophy debater in my Discord.
Yep.
Would you be interested in talking to them on stream? It's one of my mods.
Yeah.
They actually know
Yep.
philosophy stuff. If you want to hop on there right now, I'll host both of you talking if you want.
1 second. Let me go to your Discord.
All right. Yeah, some of my like any of my descriptions on videos or streams, you could talk to him because I don't know any of the terms, but I think you'll enjoy talking to him. Or
Okay.
or them.
Second. I'm on your YouTube. I don't see your Discord.
It's like go on a video, just look in the description of a video. I don't have it on the actual channel.
You should have it on the channel to make it easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it. Yeah, I agree.
Here we go. 1 second. Jonah, donate. Here's the Discord.
And if you're watching, DJ, go in the 1v1 debate room, and I'll just verify you right away when you join.
Yep. It should be Loki.
Okay, yeah. When you get in there, go to the 1v1 debate room. It's like a stage room in the voice channels.
I think it popped up. 1 second. Verify. I joined.
Okay. Let me see. All right, I don't see you yet. Does it say Jolah YT for the name?
Yep.
Okay, it might just take a minute for you to show up. And what did you say your name was?
Loki.
Loki. Okay.
Yeah, sick. Buster joined before me. Like, welcome and rules. I'm looking at that now. Verify. I'm in verify. Yeah, because I'm at JOLAH capital YT. I'm waiting for, like, all I see is going to be, oh wait, here, I have accepted the rules.
There you go. I see you. All right, I'll just verify you ahead of time. But yeah, you can go in the voice channel.
All right, let me get off of this real quick so then we can go in there and debate.
All right, sounds good. Everyone watching, I'm gonna let this play out. I deserve a break, and I know this will be a really fun conversation to watch. So if you're watching, this is one of our Discord mods who's gonna come on here, DJ. He is amazing. Okay, so is amazing, and this is gonna be a really fun. I'm actually really excited for this conversation. Not gonna lie. All right. Go in this 1v1 debate room. So we're gonna watch this, guys. Why is this so stupid? Okay, so I'm in this room. I invited both of them to speak.
Can I have my perms?
Hello. Oh, I forgot you don't have them. Yeah. You keep getting banned. Yeah, this is an interesting.
Thank you, bud.
Interesting one. I invited that guy to speak. Come on, guy, join. I thought about you right away. I'm like, this will be
Also,
a fun one to
Loki, you
watch.
should be able to join whenever.
Yeah. Should be fun. What a good time.
For me, a thing popped up that said I was invited, and it let me accept the invitation.
By the way, everyone, I'm gonna shut down my one shorts. There's gonna be one more YouTube shorts up on my channel. I'm ending one of them, but there's 2 of them up right now.
If
There's
you
2
want to
up
try
right now.
inviting him again, Jolah.
For the last one. I could dismiss him.
Also, I
request
can't
to speak
hear
again.
you because you're in the audience.
I am in the audience. Nice. Philosophy. All right, there you go. Let me.
All right, there we go.
Requested, invited to speak. There you go. All right, you can mute my stream.
Mute the stream. Loki, mute the stream.
I'm not in the stream.
All right, epic.
Yep.
So what's up?
Yeah, I hold the causal obligation. Why should we hold, why should we let the illegal immigrants into this country? We didn't cause them to be in a state of dependence.
You hold the causal obligation?
Yep.
Define that for me.
Yeah, if I don't cause you to be in a state of dependence based off of my initial action, then I have no more obligation. Kind of like if a homeless person down the street, I walk by and I have a sandwich and they're actively starving to death in front of me. I don't have a causal obligation to give them my sandwich, do I?
You don't have a causal obligation, but I would say that's a bad model of morality.
I would disagree, because in my framework, you can be nice and help these people out, but do you believe that these people should be charged if they don't give the sandwich to someone that's actively dying in front of them?
I'm not sure. I think we can talk about law, but that's going to be a somewhat separate conversation from how we talk about.
Wait, no, because when it comes to morals, it's going to be applicable to our legality. Wait, when we talk about philosophical, I don't know what side you're on. I'm a libertarian. I'm going to say that when it is about morality, it should be based into legality. Because when it comes to moral,
do you think that every moral belief that we have should be legislated?
what do you mean by this?
Do you think lying is immoral?
No.
Okay. Do you think lying is just always fine?
Wait, when we are saying lying, is this just a white lie? Is this like me misleading you into you buying something? You have to be very precise when you say lying.
No, I'm just talking about lying in general.
Yeah, I would just say lying in general wouldn't be bad, but if you are misleading someone or lying about a certain product, this would be misinformed and this would be counted as bad. But when it comes to like the situation of like me saying a white lie or me saying to like my girlfriend that she looks pretty, but obviously she's ugly.
Okay, do you think that telling a non-white lie, do you think telling a black lie should be illegal?
Yeah, what's a black lie?
Any lie that you wouldn't see as a white lie.
Any lie, so like misleading someone to buy a product. Yeah, I would just say that should be illegal.
Okay. So you think like if your partner asks if you're cheating on them and you were, and you tell them you weren't, that should be illegal? There should be a legal penalty for that?
Yeah, I would just say that there should be some type of punishment for it because you're misleading the person. Because for my partner especially, we both had a verbal agreement in the initial action of us getting together, like, hey, I will not cheat on you. This is a form of a contract. It's a verbal contract, and I believe verbal contracts should be upheld.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say that's super disagreeable. There are a lot of things that people see as immoral that we nonetheless don't intuitively believe should be legislated on.
Wait, okay. So when it comes to like verbal agreements, do you agree with verbal agreements?
Do I think they should be legally binding? Not in all cases.
Wait, why not?
I think that there are.
No, give me a hypothetical where
if you
this
lie,
wouldn't be.
so for example, if you're cheating on your partner and they ask you if you're cheating on them and you lie to them and you say that that you're not, I don't think that's the type of. I think it's a morally wrong action to do that, but I don't think it's the type of moral wrong that would warrant some kind of legal penalty.
Yeah, I would just say that it should be
Same thing for something like saying a racial slur or bullying someone. You shouldn't bully people, but should you be legally penalized for bullying people? I don't think so.
Okay, wait, let's go back to this. You're saying that this shouldn't be a thing. Can you give me a hypothetical where this wouldn't be like good?
Where what wouldn't be good?
Yeah, like where it comes to like a verbal agreement, because when you give a verbal agreement, it's kind of like a contract agreement. Do you disagree with this?
You only said a half of a sentence. What am
Okay.
I agreeing? What am I
Do you
disagreeing
agree? Do you agree a verbal agreement is the same as a paper contract?
No, I don't intuitively.
And okay, so if you are buying a house and someone gives you a handshake and say, yes, I will buy this from you for like 150,000, right? Gives you 150,000 to buy your house and everything like that. Do you believe that you do not have to uphold that contract?
No, I don't think you have a binding duty in the same way as if you signed a
Wait,
contract
why?
that existed within a legal framework. Because people.
Wait.
Because
in legal framework, what legal framework do you want to go off of? Because in the United States, if you want to go off a legal framework, in the United States, a verbal agreement is going to be applicable. So what framework do you want to go off of when it comes to legality?
I think that there should be able to be corroborable proof of an agreement.
So like two eyewitnesses.
Or like a notarizer. I mean, that would be that could warrant seeing a verbal agreement as the same kind of thing as a written one.
Okay, so you need another person to be present. It has to be a certain person, so you're saying notarizer, so it wouldn't count if it's the governor or anything else?
Well, the governor could act as a notary.
Okay, cool. So can a third party, another person that is present and watches you guys both handshake and listen to what you guys say, could they not be counted as this?
Yeah, they could. Again, it's a
Okay.
little broad
So,
for.
hold up. Okay, so when it comes to a verbal agreement, you would be okay with this as long as there's another person there.
In most cases, probably. I guess it
Okay.
depends on which person is there. We would like to believe that
A
they're a
random
non-biased third party who
Yeah, this
doesn't
should say
have
that
a
they're a third
specific
party
interest.
that don't know both of them. So kind of like me and you, right? We get some random person walking down the street in the bumfuck LA or whatever state that you want to pick. If we get some third party to overhear our conversation and they hear, oh, okay, so he's giving you that and you're giving him that, would this be okay with your framework? Or would this be okay at that point?
I mean, right now, I'm not sure.
You're not sure, but just a second ago, you just said as long as there's a non-bias.
I said it could be. I said it in some cases it could be. There are types of contracts.
Okay, so if I have a notary,
there are
okay,
types
this
of
should say that in
agreements that we do. I think if you want me to give like a more concrete answer, give like a more specific example. But if we're just
Okay,
talking
cool.
about broadly,
So if
any
you
kind
and your
of verbal
partner,
agreement can be
yeah, I'll
legislated
be more
on it.
precise with my words for you. I'm going to be more precise with my words so you can engage with this.
Not
It's
not
you and
your
your
words,
partner.
just the content of what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm
is
giving
what I
you,
need to
yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to be more precise with this. Okay, there's a notary, someone that is able to notarize it. You and your girlfriend in this hypothetical are going to be saying that, hey, you are my girlfriend. I'm not going to talk to any other girl. And she's like, I'm not going to talk to any other guys. The notary in this situation, the one that is the third party, non-biased to both of your parties because they don't really give a fuck, but they're there just to make sure that this is a verbal agreement. Should this be upheld?
Are they both agreeing to certain penalties upon violation of the contract?
Yeah, I would just say that the penalties would be in the initial action of them saying this. So yes.
But are they explicitly brought up as part of the
Yes.
verbal agreement?
Yes. If you cheat on me, you have to pay $100.
If they both agree to it and they both agree to have some legal body hold them accountable, then sure.
Okay, so verbal agreements are okay in your framework as long as there's a third party there and they agree to this, which guess what this is called? Causal obligation. You both cause each other to be in a state of dependence consensually. There's situations where it's unconsensually, where like if I'm unconscious, they have the moral obligation to take care of me if they cause me to be in a car accident. So you agree with this?
Yeah, but I don't think that's it's limited. I don't think moral obligations are limited to causal obligations.
Okay,
Also, I don't know that anyone like signs a contract to say if I put you in harm's way, I now have an obligation to redress that. I don't think that's a contract I ever signed, but we would say that obligation exists regardless of whether I sign a contract
okay, cool.
verbally or in
Yeah,
written word.
this already exists, and there's going to be the law. It's called hit and run. If you hit someone and run away, you cause them to be in a state of dependence that they weren't in, right? Unconscious, bleeding, everything like this. Kind of like if I'm in my vehicle right now. If I take my vehicle and go down the school zone doing 90, and I hit a bunch of children, and I hurt them, and I run away, and I run away from the scene. Guess what? I cause them to be in a state of dependence, and I am not doing my moral obligation.
Yeah, but that moral obligation's not dependent on you signing a contract. It just exists.
Wait, it's a verbal agreement because when I took my driving lessons and I got my car insurance and everything like this, when you get into your vehicle, right, the legal contract is going to be the situation of a hit and run. The moral contract is going to be the verbal one that you have at your DMC, DM, whatever the fuck you want to say. Different states call it different things. When it comes to the situation of car insurance, everything like this, it gives you a whole thing. If you read through the contents, it tells you whenever there's a car accident, you are morally obligated to call 911 or at the same time call your car insurance.
I would say the moral obligation is there even if you don't have a driver's license, especially if you don't have a driver's license.
Yep, and that's going to be based off of what? The moral system that
there's no verbal agreement there. I never said.
Yep.
I never said to anyone, nor did I sign a written contract that said if I ever hit someone, but I never got my driver's license, then I have an obligation to help them. That obligation
Okay,
just
even if you
exists.
don't have it, wait, if we're saying that this is just exists, okay, I would agree with you. But with the existing, this is going to be based off of what? You causing someone to be in a state of dependence based off your own actions. The moral obligation here is that you put someone else into a situation that they did not consent to. Kind of like if you went down the street and you started SAing someone. This wouldn't be consensual. This is going to be you causing someone else to be in a state of dependence, which our legal system, majority of it.
I think you're saying more than you need to say. I understand that. I don't think that moral obligations are limited to those types of things, though.
Okay, what is it not applicable to? Can you give me a situation?
I mean, I imagine you're going to bite the bullet, but I can give you a situation. If you,
Please.
if there's a child, who shows up at your door in the middle of a blizzard, and
Yep, I have no causal obligation.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I was expecting you to say. I would just say
Unless
that your idea of moral obligations is completely unintuitive. Most people would disagree with it, and I don't want a society that's built purely off of that.
No, so
framework.
you didn't let me finish. I wouldn't care, me personally. But in my framework, if you want to be a nice person, you can let this kid into this house. I would just say
that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking whether you
Yeah,
have a
would
moral
I?
obligation to do it, and you're
Yeah,
saying
would
you
I?
don't. You're saying no one has a moral obligation to do
Wait,
it.
I'm not
unless they've
saying no one
signed
has a. Wait, hold up a second. Wait, I'm not saying no one does, because the parents that caused this kid to be in the state of dependence because they consented to the initial action of having sex have a moral obligation. Police officers have an obligation. I am saying I don't have an obligation. If I want to be nice, I can let this kid come in or call 911. But when it comes to this situation, did I cause this kid to be outside?
Again, it's irrelevant what you would do if you wanted to be nice. We're talking about whether a moral obligation exists.
Yeah, in this situation, there's a moral obligation, but it's not on me. It's on other people.
If the parents both died of spontaneous heart attacks and then the child just wandered off into the snow, where's the moral obligation?
Yeah, it's going to be on the police officers, or it's the responsibility of the parents before dying to make sure that there's a caregiver for that child at any point if a situation like that happens.
Okay, that's good.
Because
that makes sense and is realistic.
Wait, since they caused the kid to be in the state of dependence based off of their initial action of consenting to sex.
Having a heart attack is not an action.
Wait, no. I'm saying with them having sex, they brought this kid into this world. Do you disagree with this?
I do.
You disagree with them consenting to intercourse? They're acknowledging that there's a chance of them getting pregnant. Do you disagree with this?
When I fire a gun at a gun range, I acknowledge that there's
a
chance
hold up
that
a second.
there's a
Answer my
person
hypothetical. Do not deflect. Answer my hypothetical, then I can engage with yours. If they consent to the initial action, are they acknowledging that there's a chance of them getting pregnant?
When I fire a gun at a gun range,
can you answer my hypothetical?
When I fire a gun at a gun range,
can you answer my hypothetical?
When I fire a gun at a gun range, I implicitly acknowledge that there might be a person behind the target that I might kill. That's not me consenting to shoot someone in the head. So, no, I don't think that consenting to sex is consenting to be responsible for your child throughout their entire
I can answer
life.
you real quick. The difference between this hypothetical and the other hypothetical is that there's a person behind the thing, didn't consent for it, unless if they very much say, like, in the initial action, I consent to stand behind this. If I get shot in the head, I have no problem. With the situation,
that's not relevant.
Wait, hold up. Wait, DJ, DJ, you're not understanding.
Can you please calm down?
Wait, you're not engaging with my hypothetical.
Can you please
the
calm
difference
down?
between the difference between these two the difference between these two hypotheticals, DJ, is one is going to be both people consenting for, and the other one only one person. In the situation of the range, yes, you are consenting to this, but the other person didn't explicitly say, I want to get shot in the head. I have no problem with assisted suicide or anything like that. When it comes to the child situation, this is two people.
Yeah, so I think you're misunderstanding why I brought that up, which is it's just a general, it's supposed to be illustrative of the fact that consenting to taking a specific action is not equivalent to consenting to...
can you give me one where it's both parties?
Are we going to be able to have like a
Yeah, DJ, give me a hypothetical where it's both parties instead of just one-sided.
Are we going to be able to have a conversation?
Yes, if you can give me a hypothetical where it's both parties consenting for the action.
I need you to take a deep breath.
DJ, give
The
me a
point of that
hypothetical.
example, the point of that example was just to say that consenting to an action is not equal to consenting to take responsibility for all of the possible consequences of that action.
Yeah,
Whether
I
that's
disagree with
one
this.
person or, yeah, I know, but that's why I brought up the hypothetical. It's
Yeah,
because
can you give me a better
it's an
hypothetical?
intuitive example. It's an intuitive, well, it doesn't matter whether it's one person consenting or two people
No, it
consenting
does.
as a unit,
It does.
because in this case, the person who's getting shot is not equivalent to the person. It's not analogous to the other person you're having sex with. It's analogous to the
Yes,
child. The child didn't consent to be brought into the world, just like the person who got shot in the head is not consenting to being shot. So that's not, you're misunderstanding the analogy because you think
No,
that
it's
me
not
shooting a
analogous.
person is supposed to be analogous to a person having sex.
Yeah, it's not analogous based off of the situation. Okay, when you're having sex, it's between two parties that cause one person to be in a state of dependence. That's going to be the
Yeah, but
child. The parent- Okay, hold up,
I'm
DJ.
causing the person to
DJ,
be in a state of
DJ,
dependence when I shoot them on
DJ,
accident. But me
1 second.
consenting to fire the gun,
Wait, DJ.
you don't need to be
Wait,
patronizing.
wait, I'm not being patronizing. Your hypothetical is
DJ,
horrible.
low key.
I have no problem
That's
with
a
you
little
saying that. But when it comes
a
to the
little
situation,
patronizing.
but yeah, when it comes to the situation, the guy that is in the range, this is between one party that's consenting. Didn't cause another, like two people didn't cause one person, unless if you want to say in this hypothetical that these two people removed someone by shooting them that did not give true informed consent, which I would just say this is immoral because they're infringing upon their private property. But when it is the situation where two parents are consenting to have intercourse, acknowledging that there's a risk that the woman is going to get pregnant, they are understanding that this situation is going to take place. With the range is a bad hypothetical because this person is infringing upon someone else's negative rights to their private property. If you want me to explain to you negative rights, I have no problem with doing that.
I have no idea. Okay. A negative right is a right to non-interference.
Based off of
so-
what?
Based off of the non-aggression principle.
The NAP? Are you sure you want to say that?
All right. So anyway, you have obligations
This guy's crazy, bro.
beyond those that are provided by your signing a contract.
Like what?
Like if a child shows up at your house, you have an obligation to make sure that they don't die.
Yeah, I would like to know what obligation this is.
It's an obligation to ensure the immediate well-being of an entity that has moral worth that has become dependent on you, even if that was not through the fault of your own.
Wait.
Dog shows up at my house in the wintertime. It would.
Oh my! You sound way
Wait.
better now. Holy shit!
Oh wait, 1 second. My bad. My car turned on.
No, you actually sound way better now.
Okay,
good.
cool. So, for example, if a dog shows up to my house, this is a bean, and with it being a bean, do I have to let it come into my house in the wintertime if I know it's gonna die because of how cold it is?
Yeah, that's why I said, and I would say it depends on whether you're a vegan. If you're not a vegan, most people aren't, then no, you don't. And that's why I said the words with moral worth. Because if you don't
with
believe that
moral
a dog,
worth. Okay, what has a moral worth?
I think that something with the capacity for a human conscious experience.
Okay, so if someone, let's just say in this hypothetical, something is outside my door, teleported from the 5th or 6th dimension, it looks like a human. Should we value it and bring it inside?
I would say by presumption we would, but I mean, if you have the means to determine whether it's having a human conscious experience before you make that decision, then you feel free to.
Wait, if we don't know this and we can't prove this until we take it to the hospital and everything, why should I bring this inside?
Well, you would default to assuming that it does.
Wait, why
If it
should I
looks like-
assume?
if it looks like it does, and you can't prove one way or another whether it does, you should assume it does.
Wait, why should I assume? Because with your situation, what in your hypothetical where you said we should value this, what was your exact words again?
a a being with the active capacity for a human
Okay,
conscious
how do we know that
experience.
it has the active capacity until we're able to take it to like a hospital and show that the brain?
Well, we don't know then either.
Okay, so then why should we value this?
Because there are reasonable inferences we can make about whether something is having a conscious experience like that of a human.
Okay, so if someone's under general anesthesia, teleports into our reality at your front door, right? Do you know what general anesthesia does to your conscious awareness or in your conscious situations?
No, I don't know anything. I never learned how to read.
Oh, okay, cool. So do you
So
want me to
this
give
is
you a
why I
PM?
said. So this is why I said the words active capacity for conscious
Oh, active
experience, not
capacity. Okay.
anything, not a thing that is presently conscious.
Oh, so when it comes to the situation, we do not know if it can have a conscious awareness. We cannot know anything like this because it teleported in front of your door during a winter storm, whatever the fuck. Why should we assume that it had this experience?
You should assume based on reasonable inference. If it looks like a living being and it has a pulse, then the reasonable inference is that it has the capacity for a conscious
And if
experience.
if it's hooked up to machines at my door and it teleported there, how do I know?
I guess you would check as to whether or not the machines are life support machines.
What if they are life support machines?
If the thing is on life support and the reasonable inference is that it will die if taken off the life support, then I guess the reasonable inference is that it's a vegetable. I would say it doesn't have the capacity for conscious experience. It doesn't matter what you do to it.
Okay, so are you a doctor by any chance?
Yeah,
You are? Can I ask what is your medical field in?
I'm an oncologist.
Oncologist. Oh, 100% sarcasm. So when it comes to the situations, if you're going to pre-diagnose someone and then you find out at a later time that this person wasn't in a vegetable state, would we give this, like during the situation that you are pre-assuming that they are in a vegetable state, everything like this, would you give it any moral consideration?
Uh, Sorry, say that again.
Would you give it any moral consideration if it's in the vegetable state? To your knowledge, you're pronouncing this as non-conscious, everything under the sun. Would you give it any type of moral consideration?
If my assumption is correct, then no. If my assumption is incorrect, then yes.
Okay, so in the situation, if you're assuming, kind of like what you said, if they're hooked up to life support machines and everything like this, and in a vegetable state, would you give it any more consideration? Yes or not?
Well, if it actually is a vegetable, meaning it's undergone 99% of brain death, then it has no capacity for
Wait,
conscious
vegetable isn't
experience. It wouldn't be.
99% brain death. Can I get a source for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what source are we looking at for this?
So I just sent it in chat. Um, a vegetative state occurs when the cerebrum, the part of the brain that controls thought and behavior, no longer functions, but the hypothalamus and brainstem, parts of the brain that control vital functions such as sleep cycles, body temperature, breathing, blood pressure, heart rate, and consciousness, continue to function. Thus, people open their eyes and appear awake, but otherwise do not respond to stimulation in any meaningful way.
This would be counted as brain dead, right?
No, I said the majority of their brain is dead.
Oh, majority. So, like, what percentage would you say?
Um, the percentage that uh constitutes the cerebrum.
What percentage? Because inside of what you just read didn't say a percentage, did it?
Yeah,
So, what percentage?
the percentage of the brain that the cerebrum is made up of.
So the whole like the whole has to be dead for you to count it as like brain dead, right?
Uh, yeah, the part of the brain that controls thought and behavior.
Okay. How are you able to prove if someone is brain dead? Are you able to do this by yourself, or do you need machines for this?
Like I said, I would make the assumption based off of the most reasonable inference, not on proof.
Okay, so if they're on life support, are there people that are not in comas on life support?
It's possible.
It's possible. Is this not something that takes place in this real world?
Well, what doesn't take place in the real world is that a person on life support teleports in front of
Yeah,
your
no,
door in
if
the
we
middle of
really
a
want to be
snowstorm.
applicable, if we want to go to the real world situations, okay, cool. So there are people that are in medical comas or at the same time in comas that are on life support machines. Do you disagree with this?
No.
No, okay, cool. Why would we give them moral consideration?
Because they have the capacity for conscious experience.
Past, present, or future conscious experience matters to you.
Past, the present and future capacity.
So all three matters.
Um,
Which one's the high point for you? Or are they all equal?
One sec, let me think this through. The
Because if you say future, you're gonna get trapped when it comes to pregnancy. If you say present,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Well,
Anyone that
no,
is
one
under
sec.
general anesthesia
One
can't have a
one sec,
present
buddy.
situation.
One second, buddy. Um, well, why does one of them need to matter more than the other?
Yeah, okay. So if you value all three of them and a person only has one of them, should we value this person?
Um, if they only have present,
No, I just said
yeah.
one. I didn't say present.
If they only have, well, I'm clarifying. If they only have the present capacity, then yeah.
So present's the
If
highest for
they
you?
No, if they only have the future capacity, then no. If they only have the past capacity, then no. But if they have the past and future capacity, then uh then yes. And if they yeah. So I would say the present capacity is a sufficient condition. And then the past and future capacity together are a sufficient condition, but neither of the other two in themselves are sufficient for moral worth.
So you need to have two of them, you say.
No, you either need the present capacity or the past and future
Okay,
capacity,
cool.
or
So in
all
this
three.
hypothetical, someone comes into the hospital. We do not know that they had a past experience because they are straight under general anesthesia. We do not know what happened. They are on the floor. They get picked up by paramedics and go straight under general anesthesia. They cannot have a present situation. We don't know that they had a past experience. Why should we value this person?
Is the most reasonable inference that they've never been conscious before?
We don't know.
What is the apparent biological age of the
We
human?
don't know.
Okay, well then I would say if it looks like an 8-week-old fetus, then it doesn't have moral worth.
Let's just say it looks like a 6-year-old then,
I would say
since
the
you want
most
to do a
reason
cop
then
out.
I would say the most reasonable inference. It's not a cop out because I'm determining what the most reasonable inference is about their past
Okay, cool.
capacity to
And
have
then
a
we find
conscious
out at a later
experience
point.
based on how old they look.
Yeah, at a later point, we found out that they had no past experience. Should we value them?
If we know that they had no past capacity for conscious experience and
And we
and
know
no pre-
only in the future they
and
will.
no present capacity, then no, they don't have moral worth.
Okay, and we know in the future they will. So we should have no moral worth to this person?
Yeah, if a thing there isn't a person there, if there's never been the capacity for a
Wait, what's your
conscious experience,
classifications for a person?
a person is an entity with the present or past and future capacity for conscious
Okay,
experience.
so you would let someone like have sex with this 6-year-old thing.
Um, I wouldn't like it, but I don't like it's not morally in and of itself. It's not morally condemnable.
Not morally condemnable? And you were saying that my moral framework is bad earlier when not like letting this kid in that is unconscious, whatever the fuck, outside my doorstep. You're letting someone have sex with a body that we know in, like, let's just say 9 months, will be able to have the future consciousness, everything like this, you will be letting them have that action done to them.
I mean, I'd probably want to make it illegal because
Wait,
I
why?
think it would be indicative of. Thank you. Thank you for asking why in the middle of the sentence where I was
No
about to
problem.
say why. I think that the desire to have sex with something that looks like an unconscious 6-year-old is probably indicative of a serious mental disease, and that anybody who wants to do that will probably either be emboldened or motivated in some way to take further horrible action that is
And that's a
actually
slippery
against
slope
the
fallacy, I'm sorry to
person.
tell you.
What's at the end of the slope?
Yeah, that's gonna be a false narrative where you're saying X plus Y will always equal Z.
What's at the end of the slope? And what is Z
Yeah,
in
the
this
slippery
case?
slope fallacy is gonna be you trying to fit a narrative that is not true.
No, like in this case, what's at the end of
Yeah, the
the
end of the
slope? What
slope
are
is
what's
in your
the
situation, you do not value this. So at this situation, this person has no moral
Yeah, by all
consideration.
means, go to
In
bed.
my
You don't gotta
framework,
watch
since
this.
people consented to have
You don't gotta
sex
watch this. Go to
with
bed.
this thing that is
I'll do more calls tomorrow.
6 years old, we
We're just
don't know
hanging out
that
right
they
now.
had a past
But yeah, go
experience
to
or
bed, guys. Go to
present.
bed. Go to
We
bed.
know
Go to
in 9
bed.
months from now, they will
well,
have a future.
this is in the case that we know that they
Fallacy.
haven't had a past experience.
Yeah, in the case that they didn't.
That's
Yeah,
a small
in
weenie
the case we
fallacy.
know they did not. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to
Big
say with
weenie
this
fallacy.
situation
All the
taking place,
fallacies.
someone caused them to be in a state of dependence, and no one should infringe upon them.
Well, that's assuming they have personhood, but you haven't justified
Yeah,
that.
I don't agree
You
with their
haven't justified
personhood.
Gatorade, yeah.
that.
My hernia hurts, guys.
Like, if you want to
You don't
debate me on my
I
you
want
don't
to get
think
personhood, I'm
surgery.
sorry,
you
I
don't
want to
but
get
like
think there
hernia
are-
humans have
surgery,
you don't
human
think
guys.
there
I
are
want hernia
persons?
surgery. Please send me
Yeah, a
hernia surgery.
person is going
Donate
to
to
be of
Jolah
the human
Politics and
species.
PayPal,
If we're
Venmo,
going
or
to
Cash
talk the
App.
philosophical,
Pay for
I'm
my
going to say
hernia
anyone that
surgery.
is
Thank
from
you.
the like human species.
Yeah, so you think that we should feed corpses indefinitely?
Yeah, I would just say corpses. The second that they die, they don't have future, past. They don't have future, which I value future.
They're of the human species.
Yeah, can I finish? So when it comes to persons, if we're talking the philosophical term, like what I was saying, of the human species, yeah. And I'm going to say in certain cases, the personhood is going to be stripped away. The situation that is going to be stripped away, I wouldn't count a dead corpse as a human anymore because, like, I understand it is a human. I will have to bite the bullet on this, but I wouldn't just say it's the classification as a live human.
Well, then you disagree with the definition you gave a minute ago. You
Yeah, I
said
would just say that I have no problem with biting the bullet and say I was wrong about like me speaking. What I would count as a person is anything that is alive, and this is what I'm going to count as a person, where we are talking about personhood.
Yeah, but you don't think we have a moral obligation to keep a thing alive if we weren't the one who caused it to be in a dependent state. So
If we caused it, or if someone
no,
else caused it.
if you weren't the one who caused this thing to be in a dependent
Yeah, I have
state,
no
you
moral
don't have an
obligation to them in the
obligation to
first
keep.
place. Yeah, no, unless if
Yeah.
I'm in a doctor or a paramedic or anything like this, then I would have a causal obligation because I caused myself to be in a state where I have the moral obligation to keep them alive as long as I can.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I mean, everybody's like moral system can lead to shitty or absurd conclusions.
Yeah, yours led to someone having sex with a 6-year-old thing that we know in 9 months will have a future conscious awareness. Mine didn't.
Well, if I think that there's no personhood there, but that thing came from a person or was the creation of a
Now you're moving
person
the goalpost.
biologically. No, I'm talking about property rights.
Okay, so now we're hopping to property rights. Okay, do you believe that children are owned by their parents?
No, but I believe in the special relations view of moral worth, which is that if something that doesn't have moral worth otherwise is imbued moral worth by a person that does, then they have moral worth and should be treated
Okay,
as
so
such.
if let's just say that this P3DO gives this 6-year-old only worth, and we know in 9 months from now, the 6-year-old is going to wake up, had no past experience and no present experience because they're under general anesthesia, whatever the fuck, right? And the
Wait,
P3DO,
because they've been under general anesthesia for 6 years since before they were
yep,
born?
No, let's just
If
say
you
that
want
the
to
day
ask
they were
them a
born, they went
question, go in
straight under it. They
Discord.
had no past experience because
You
if
can
we're
ask them a
talking,
question
I
in
think
Discord
the
if you want
the
to. You can join the
fetus
chat and
has
ask a question
the
in
capacity
stage.
for conscious experience
So
at
join
20 weeks
Discord, join
gestation, so I
Discord.
would
20
say
weeks.
it,
In
Okay,
my
it,
video
so
it
description, my
has
stream
what's
it
the
has
description.
the
earliest baby
past
that was born?
it has the past capacity for conscious
Okay,
experience.
so let's just say if we're talking like capacity or past experience, what do you mean by this?
What do I mean by past experience?
Yep. Like, what do you count as experience?
The presence of qualia.
Go in more depth.
What more depth do you want?
Being able to understand its surroundings. Like, what do you mean?
I mean the presence of qualia, the presence of felt experience.
Felt experience. So we know at confirmed at 20 weeks they have
Also,
like.
just so you know, for future reference, if you need a definition for a word, don't be afraid to ask for it.
Oh yeah, that's why I asked. I said more in depth.
Okay.
Did I not say more in depth, please, or more in
You,
depth?
you said more in depth, buddy.
Yeah, I said more in depth. Like, please go in more in depth about the word. But even with the situation, let's go with it. Is it confirmed that at 20 weeks all babies will have this situation?
No.
Is it the majority case?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's just talk about it, like the minority in the situation. What was the earliest that a baby was
You're
born?
trying to talk about black babies?
No,
That was a joke.
I know.
I don't know
Well,
the earliest a fetus has been
if I'm
born.
not mistaken, it's like 21 weeks and 5 days. Or we can go with the situation where like the brain isn't fully developed, or the portion of the brain that you would consider isn't there. If we want to get the medical term, 1 second. Um, okay, so this is called ANENCEPHALY.
Say the last part of it again.
What part?
The last like 6 letters of it.
CEPHALY.
Anencephaly.
Yep. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, it's when it's when enough of the brain never develops to the point where the human never develops the capacity for conscious experience.
Are babies not born with this and survive?
Like physical survival, yeah, I wouldn't call it a baby though.
Wait, what would you call it then?
Um, I don't know, like a post fetus.
Wait, but when they survive birth, everything like this, they still live. Like right now, there's adults that have this, where they were born with this situation, and you wouldn't count this as like a baby.
And the baby just has a connotation. We can use that word. It just has the connotation of there being a person.
I would just say
There,
it is a
which there is.
person.
Well, I know you
So
would, but there
would you say
isn't
that it
one
would
there.
be immoral for anyone to have sex with this?
If somebody imbues it with a sense of moral worth, and usually that's the case whenever these humans are kept alive, it's because someone cares about them as if they were a
Yeah, let's just say
person.
that the
So
P3DO is the one that keeps it alive. Should they be able to have sex with it?
the P3DO does it spontaneously for no reason.
Let's just say the P3DO is the dad and the mother left the picture the second it was born. The only one that has like any type of morals to this is the dad in this situation, or we can go with the mother.
Well, if they have the human on life support, then that
Wait, these babies
entails
aren't
that they've
on life
imbued it with
support
some.
always because when it comes to the situation, they're on machines to help them stay alive, like breathing, stuff like that. But they're able to still move. They're still able to interact with the world, which this wouldn't fall into your classifications. You would have to bite the bullet here and say, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with someone saying this. I would just find it weird.
No, because to the extent that that human is imbued moral worth by a person, then it
Yeah,
would be
the
immoral.
worth is coming from a P3DO. That's the only worth that they're getting it from.
So there are no parents. Oh, so you mean
No,
pedo? That's what you mean. You don't mean
yeah,
a machine. You mean a pedo.
like a P3DO. We're on YouTube. I'm not trying to get him banned. I debate on TikTok and other things, so I'm trying to watch my words. So he
Just really quick, I want to say something for the stream. Anyone that wants to keep on watching this, I'm gonna shut down the stream soon. And you can join the Discord in my video descriptions, my stream descriptions, and also if you never listened to a debate, bro, philosophy debate, you're gonna find out that if you want to hear about applications or utility of decisions we can make, that's not the place to go. They're going to be debating words and the meaning of words and different ethical and moral frameworks and whatever other really hyper specificities they want to get into. So it's not going to be the best for many listening ears unless if you want to engage in it. But if you do join the Discord, there's a audience, there's a stage room. You can become part of the audience. We have like 5 people there right now. You could ask a question if you raise your hand in there. There's also a chat on here. I'm going to end the stream, guys.
I do want to say
thank you guys for talking.
I do want to say quickly, 90. This is probably the worst conversation on like a quality of conversation level that I've had about politics. Or
yeah,
philosophy.
I would just say that you weren't able.
If you guys, can I have my perms?
I
have them. Okay, yeah. So I would just say if you guys want to come on and talk to me about philosophy and not ask me about people with encephalopathy that look like 6-year-olds and whether it's okay to have sex with it, you should come and ask me about something else, and I promise you it'll be a much more productive and engaging conversation.
There's one conversation I think was kind of that I'm interested in about this, because the thing Loki brought up to me about immigration was like the causal relationship with like an immigrant coming to the border, obviously, and like, you know, is it our responsibility to take care of them?
It's not.
But then under that assumption, what do you say if that person came from a Central American country that the United States of America, our government played a role in destabilizing? If we destabilize that country, either economically or militarily, then would we have a responsibility to accept the person that had to flee from there?
In what sense did we do it? Because if we're talking like Afghanistan and Iraq, we were going in there trying to help them with the extremist groups, which they collapsed after we left. We can look at the situation in Afghanistan. We were upholding their government way too long. We should have backed out a lot later, but we were actively trying to help. This was a consensual contract between us.
Okay, let's say
if we're talking Central America, this is going to be depending on the country, and then we can go into this depth about did we intentionally do this? Because if we did, then we would have some type of moral obligation. If we didn't, then it would be upon their government.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah.
The issue, I mean, the main issue, Jolah, is just that this is a stupid basis for morality.
I would disagree. You were able to engage with it, and the hypothetical I gave you.
I know, Loki. It sucks because you really want to hear the sound of your own voice, and it sucks when you have to hear the sound of other people's voices. It's like so triggering, and it sucks so bad. So the problem with this as a basis for society and moral beliefs in general is that if, let's say, there was a fatal car crash where a mother was driving with her baby that was alive and conscious, and the mother dies in the car crash and the baby doesn't, but it, waddles, it crawls out of the car and it's crying and it needs someone to feed it or else it will starve to death. You don't have an obligation to pick it up or take it to
Rita, thank you for the $10. Rita,
or a
appreciate
hospital
you. Rita,
or anywhere.
Thank you, Rita. Rita.
And it's actually perfectly fine
Rita.
under Loki's moral system for you to just sit, watch, and laugh as that baby slowly starves to death. Because the only way for Loki that you can have a moral obligation to that baby is if you were the one who caused it to starve to death. That's a horrible basis for morality.
Okay, under that question really quick, under that question, for anyone watching, again, I'll put the Discord link in there. We actually got some viewership in the other stream. We went from 100 to 200, so I think they like the we have to bring in some modern topics other than just like obsessing on one word, which I know is not your fault, DJ. Yeah, we have 8 audience people. I saw some say they want to raise their hands, so whatever format you want to use, DJ, you could do that and have them engage with the conversation. If you're watching again on the streams, join the Discord, join the conversation, join the Discord. We want more people in Discord, so we have them to talk to. We have you guys to talk to. Please join us. We're ending the streams. We continue this conversation until 4 a.m. every night. 4 a.m. minimum, maybe 5 or 6. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, donate to Jolah Politics on all the things. Thank you for DJ and low key, and thank you for the people that join Discord that want to ask questions. But yeah, thank you guys.
Smash like, subscribe.
Smash like, yeah. All right. Stream is ending. End.
Is the other stream still happening, or are you ending all of them?
I'm ending them now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right.